Saying that Le Mans Ultimate has just saved sim racing, on the face of it, sounds like a totally moronic and stupid thing only a bold git tea drinking idiot would say. However, in this video, I'm going to explain precisely why Le Mans Ultimate has indeed saved sim racing for a lot of sim racers, especially the older, gittish, experienced sim racers that have been crying out for this type of title for a very long time indeed. Would you like a superpower? Well, if you subscribe, you gain the power to be able to unsubscribe. That's a superpower that not even Spider-Man has. Though Spider-Man could click the like button from a very long distance using his wrist web stupid thing. How on earth has it saved sim racing, I hear you say, given that we've got iRacing, Automobilista 2, AC1, ACC, Race Room, and a whole bunch of titles on the way? Well, it's quite simple. No other simulator on the market offers as easier and streamlined way to get high quality online racing. And crucially, high quality online racing with a very low frequency of race ending or completely race ruining or session ruining incidents that are totally unavoidable. As much as I enjoy the original Assetto Corsa and think it's still one of the best handling simulators, good luck finding ranked multiplayer in it. LFM's pretty much dead for that. As much as I hate ACC's force feedback, it is particularly active on low fuel motorsports, but that does require you to sign up to low fuel motorsports, and at the end of the day, the cars in the game do seemingly behave like pinballs from the slightest of contacts, combined with terrible frame rates for people with slower computers and some of the dullest GT3 car physics known to man. Race Room, fantastic netcode, really fun to drive vehicles, but the game engine is super dated. They're working on updating it. But really not an active game online, and it's never had a decent split-based active ranking system built into the game itself. AMS2, great graphics, great VR, 3 people to race against online, along with Superglue car netcode. Good luck with that. And all the titles that have been announced that are going to come out in the future and apparently make the world perfect in the land of sim racing, well, they're early access, they're in development, and we don't really know what's happening with them yet. So we can't test them, so excluded, expelled, don't even think about them, don't think about games until they're actually released. So, we are left with just iRacing in terms of built-in, online, very active, ranked multiplayer. And, surprise, surprise, we're about to now say some stuff that's not particularly positive about iRacing. We're going to be very realistic here, and this will require you to hover your mouse cursor over the unsubscribe button if you haven't already unsubscribed. You're probably shaking, but get ready. Putting aside what's realistic or not, who actually cares at the end of the day, you're not going to drive a real car because you're too poor. Putting aside all that stuff, and considering the fact that I personally have thousands of hours in iRacing, we got to 5k iRating, we're normally driving in the top split in Super Formula Light, F4, Spec Racer Ford, MX5 and the Nordschleifer races that they do. Not oval racing, I'm not very good at that, but we've got a good range of experience with iRacing. Keep that in mind. We also play at all time zones. We live stream at 2 AM, 9 PM, 3 AM, midday. I have no life. Considering everything with iRacing, what you find with iRacing is that almost all the incidences, even if you're driving super passively just to farm iRating, where you have to finish in the top 4 in the top split on average just to gain 10, 15, 20 iRating, because if you get DQ'd, you're going to lose 100 iRating. So that's 10 hours of races to get that back. So even if you're driving supremely carefully, you are going to get wrecked off in ways that are totally unavoidable, and the vast majority of ways that you get wrecked in iRacing are completely unavoidable. And even if you're not smashed off completely and it's just a light contact and it does a small bit of damage, those tend to completely ruin that entire race session. Be it a 20-minute race or an hour-long race, the smallest of things tend to completely ruin the entire race and that hour of your gameplay session. Even worse, when you have the mildest of things happen to you, you tend to get piled into by all the other vehicles, and then even if you survive that, the game has completely rando, arbitrary meatball damage system that further magnifies the physics, the netcode, and the other aspects of the game that are incredibly unpredictable and hard to controllably avoid. In fact, the only way that I personally have found to consistently avoid getting arbitrarily wrecked in iRacing is to basically avoid racing anyone. Spend ages hot lapping, make sure you qualify only in the top 3, and then don't race anyone. Just don't defend. Just let them pass you if they're slightly faster or slightly aggressive. Don't squeeze people into corners in the most mild of ways that you would do at a local go-kart track or that you would do in any other racing game. Just don't race, and then you probably finish a race, you probably gain I rating, and you probably have an okay time. The problem with that is, presumably, if you are playing iRacing and you've paid for this online service that definitely has the competition and is active, surely the reason you paid for it is for the racing, not for merely hot lapping with other cars on the track. So fundamentally, the game mechanics of iRacing, and part of that is the time model being overly unforgiving, over the limit, and the weirdo netcode causing stuff to go flying all over the place and some other stuff, and you could argue that's realism or not realism, but the fundamental game mechanics and design of the game mean that statistically you will have a bad race and it won't be your fault that you've really had a bad race. That, I think, is a really, really significant problem. Forget if you're an iRacing hater or an iRacing fan, this affects everybody. And what you will notice, if you play Le Mans Ultimate, sure, people are going to drive into you, people are going to do dumb stuff. At the start of this race and all through this race, there was stupid stuff. But someone can knock into you and it's not going to completely ruin your race session. You might get some annoying damage, you might get some flat spots. There are frustrating things in Le Mans Ultimate. It's not perfect, the moderation is not perfect. I think the driving is actually, ironically, a lot worse in terms of driver standards in Le Mans Ultimate than iRacing. However, the design of the game, how much damage you get, how controllable the tyres are when they go over the limit so you can just catch it or you can recover contacts, the netcode allowing for cars to actually lean on each other and knock each other, it all means that you can race harder, race closer, and statistically you really have to be doing something pretty bloody terrible in Le Mans Ultimate to have a race-ending event. Or you have to be really, really, really unlucky. Maybe someone does plough you at the start of the race. It is inevitable. You will still, in any sim with damage or, any sim, you're going to get some stuff that's impossible. But on balance, and we've done 15, 20 races now over the last month in Le Mans Ultimate, maybe even more than that. I can't keep count. Lots of live streaming. We, on balance, have really fantastic races, even the frustrating ones where we get hit into and we've got damage, even races that are 40-minute long races and we've had damage at the start of them, we're still battling people through the race. There's still people in the race as well. This is a huge issue with iRacing. With longer races, so many people just quit the session, even in the top split, that if you're knocked back, you're not going to be racing against people because there's no one else at your skill level to race against. So therein lies the real value of Le Mans Ultimate, and why I think, and I'm putting this out there. As I say, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of how Le Mans Ultimate handles in general. I don't think it's that bad. I'd say R Factor 2 is really up there, but I'm not the biggest fan of this. Like, my sort of... I really love the handling and the force feedback of the original Assetto Corsa. It does have some curbing issues. It's not perfect. It has flaws. All of them have flaws. I'm not the biggest fan of Le Mans Ultimate. But, I'm putting this out there, it is the best racing game at the moment for online racing. For serious online racing, where you use racecraft, you defend, you squeeze, you attack, you make mistakes, other people make mistakes, you do longer races, you do sprint races. It's the best racing game that I've played online in a very, very long time, and you can just jump in and play it whenever you want. Sure, I would rather have different cars than GT3 and LMDH and LMP2. I do like LMP2, but I would rather be driving vintage Formula cars or Radical SR3s or Megane V6. There's a whole bunch of cars I'd rather be driving than these cars. But if your goal is racing, and that's the crux of this, racing, this is the best racing game at the moment and for a long time. And it's one of the first proper racing games with the forgiving netcode like Race Room has, and even R-Factor 1 in some ways had quite good netcode. It's the first racing game with that kind of online, with the ranked split-based system built into the game so you can then find the competition. Basically, we just had iRacing before, but, you know, iRacing, as we've just explained, has its problems. So, there you go. I genuinely think this now has set a framework that other developers can look at and go, right, controllable at the limit cars. Might not be the best handling, but you can counter steer, you can catch slip. Great. Netcode where you can knock into people and it doesn't ruin your race. Great. Damage that's maybe a bit reduced, certainly is. It's certainly reduced compared to reality. It's overly forgiving damage. But for jumping online rookie races, spot on. And also considering how random netcode is, even in games like this with good netcode, you can't... Damage has to be unrealistically forgiving, because if it's unrealistically unforgiving, you just get meatballs or wheels falling off or rear of your car falling off for things that are completely... like would be fine in a real car. So, yeah, unrealistically forgiving damage, especially in the rookie races, maybe not in harder races, you know, you could just set it up like that, but the general framework of this is pretty much spot on. This is what developers should be looking at and going, right, let's now do this with even better physics or even better race cars or more shiny graphics engine and better force feedback. I don't care, but the framework is here. The frame has been laid by the Studio 397 and LMU developers. A lot of this has taken a long time, but at least it's somewhat here now. So it's going to be interesting to know what you guys think in the comment section. But I'm telling you, Le Mans Ultimate is going to absolutely explode. I think it's already started to, but this title just... looking at this not as a simulator, but as a racing game from a gameplay perspective, and I personally, I do a lot of sim racing. We're known as a sim racing channel, but actually, I'm more of just a general gamer. I like gameplay. I like game design. Looking at this as a gamer, this is second to Wreckfest 2, let's be honest. But this is bloody good. Let me know in the comments if you agree, if you think I've lost my tea bags. But until the next one, we won this race, obviously, so you don't need to see the rest of it. Thanks for watching. Happy tea drinking. Take care. And goodbye.